My name is Praneeth. Welcome to my channel, Everyday Space. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the launch of the Soyuz rocket and the journey it takes to the International Space Station. So all the Soyuz rocket launches take from a facility in Kazakhstan called the Baikonur Cosmic Drone Launch Facility. So this is like the only facility that Russia has to launch its vehicles. All of the Soyuz and all the other rockets launch from this one facility. Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, launched from this facility also. So every time the Soyuz launches, it takes 3 new astronauts to the International Space Station. So the astronauts have to undergo hundreds of training hours before launch. So they train and practice in realistic models of the actual spacecraft. These are replicates to make sure the astronauts know in every single situation what to do in case of a malfunction. So they can do anything manually. They're trained to. So the Soyuz is about 50 meters tall with a diameter of around 10 meters. It has a mass of approximately 310 tons. So the Soyuz consists of 3 stages, each containing liquid, oxygen, and kerosene for rocket propellant. The actual Soyuz spacecraft is encapsulated within the rocket's nose cone. This is where the crew will be. The astronauts, after 210 hours, they can finally get in the spacecraft. They go through an elevator through one of the green mechanical arms that leads them to the Soyuz actual spacecraft. They are now sitting on top of 310 tons of propellant. What happens if something goes wrong? So the Soyuz is equipped with a powerful abort system. So in case of an emergency, the engines on the tower will then ignite using solid rocket propellant to get the crew capsule safely from the rocket. So then after they have cleared the rocket, then the tower will detach from the crew capsule, and then the crew capsule will then deploy parachutes to land back on Earth a few kilometers away. So at T-0, the rocket is going to lift off from the launch pad. All the 4 side boosters and the central core are ignited for additional thrust. And this is the trajectory that the rocket's going to follow throughout its journey to the International Space Station. So it's about 35 seconds in a flight, and it has a speed of roughly 300 kilometers per hour. Now the crew inside of the spacecraft are experiencing 1.5 times their weight on the ground. And in 50 seconds in a flight, it has an altitude of 11 kilometers and a speed of 1,640 kilometers per hour. The crew are now experiencing twice their weight on the ground, or 2G. So it has now traveled 16 kilometers downrange from the launch pad. It now has an altitude of over 40 kilometers. And now the escape tower system is now jettisoned because it's no longer needed. And the 4 side boosters are also jettisoned after they used up all the propellant they have. In case of an abort, the crew capsule is still able to separate from the rest of the vehicle without additional propellant. Now the 4 side boosters will follow a safe trajectory about 350 kilometers downrange from the launch pad in an uninhabited area. So the astronauts are now can feel microgravity and are experiencing 3.5 G, or 3.5 times their weight on the ground. This is the most physically demanding moment of the astronauts. Now the nose cone that protects the Soyuz capsule is now jettisoned, and light can enter into the small compartment through the small windows of the Soyuz. As you can see, this is the trajectory and is about 200 kilometers downrange. The central core, or the second stage, has almost used up all of its propellant and is now getting ready to jettison. The third stage is currently being fired for about 5 seconds before the central core gets jettisoned. So now the central core, or the second stage, used up all the propellant it has and is now jettisoned with the altitude of around 170 kilometers with a speed 13,250 kilometers per hour. And now the rings that are attached to the third stage to the second stage are also jettisoned as they are no longer needed right now. So you can see the trajectory, and it is about 1,000 kilometers downrange from the launch pad. So it has been almost 9 minutes in a flight, and the third stage has used up all of its propellant. It is now also jettisoned, and the Soyuz is jettisoned from the rest of the rocket. They are now in orbit. So the astronauts now have to do some safety checks before they can dock with the ISS. And it is about 2,000 kilometers downrange now. It has been 10 minutes, and the journey to the ISS is almost over. So the solar panels will now deploy, and the antennas. Now they can get some power and relay information back to ground control. So currently the Soyuz rocket is the only capsule that is capable of carrying crew to the International Space Station after the space shuttle has retired in 2011. So now that it's in space, it's going to take another 6 hours to go to the ISS and dock. I'm going to be covering that in my next video in more detail. Be sure to watch that video, and thanks for watching. If you like more of my videos, please subscribe and like.